So I did something stupid again. Happens all the time. Although I don't know if it was really my fault, because I really couldn't have predicted what would have happened. But before we talk about that, let's talk about forgery, copying, intellectual property. Believe it or not, I actually am a dentist. I do spend a lot of my time in surgery, real surgery, not just doing fillings, which is also surgery, but real surgery involving a lot of blood. I just do this stuff for fun on my side time between patients, and that's when I respond to a lot of people. And I really respond to a lot of people. I talk to maybe 50 to 100 people a day, like minimum. That's my average number. So the copying issue is a big deal, and well, to me it's a big deal because I come from the academic world. Being a dentist means I have somewhat of an academic background. I have a pretty solid research background and publishing information background. So I look at copying like I do in the academic world. In the academic world, if you copy an idea or a thought or somebody else's work and you get caught doing it and the community finds out, your career is over. Like, nobody will listen to you ever again. And if you're in school, you're expelled. You'll never go to school again. If you try to pass off somebody else's idea as yours, don't expect good things to happen. In this world, we can't really protect ourselves in this quad world because a lot of the time the things that we develop really don't have a financial number attached to them, so it's not worth getting patents, and things move so fast anyways, and that's not even what the sport is about. That's not what this industry is about. It's about building off other people's ideas, developing, improving, moving forward. That's what I enjoy. That's what I think a lot of people that do this stuff enjoy. That's what they want to do. They want to share their enjoyment of what they do and develop it further, make it the best that it could be. So I present the same solution that we have in the academic world for copying ideas, which is not copying. It's citing. You cite an idea. You say, this is where the idea came from, this is my thought process, this is what I did, this is how I tried to improve it, and this is my outcome. The scientific method, nothing special, nothing new. And it's worked great in the academic world, even though ideas still get stolen and thoughts get thrown around, whatever. You can't plagiarize something that's well known. Like, if it's well known, you just can't plagiarize it without looking bad. So what I would present to people in this world is that, first of all, you can't do anything about China. China will copy, but they usually screw up the copy, so I don't really know if it's that big of a deal to worry about China. But what I present is that if you're designing something, you're making something that's inspired by something else, why not just give them credit for it? What's the big deal? I have helped a lot of people make their own floss frame or their own frames in general. I just happen to have experience making a lot of frames. I've seen a lot of things break. I've learned a lot about how carbon works, what I can and cannot do with it, and the floss was a huge experiment in that regard. So I talk to a lot of people every day, and a lot of them are also talking to me about frame designs because they love making things themselves, and I love that, and I support that 110%. I want everybody to make their own stuff. It's awesome, but most people don't have time for it. But when a known company takes a design, tries to make it their own, and sell it as their own unique product, or for that matter, anybody really tries to advertise a design or something that they've done and make it their own unique product when it's not, and the other product or where the ideas came from is well known, that's where I have a problem. One-offs, people doing it on their own, for their friends, small batches, couple things sold here and there, that's nothing, doesn't mean anything. But when somebody is trying to build a name on top of it, that's when it matters. So now let's discuss what actually happened. I don't like Preston. I'm not a fan of his. It's no secret. I don't make my ideas secret, clearly, and I talk too much. So I don't like him, so I don't really follow him. I don't follow anything he does. And I don't go scouring the internet looking for copies or things. I don't care about that stuff. I focus on development. I talk to a dozen Chinese companies every night and 100 people a day. That all about development and helping them with problems and new pilots. So what happened? A lot of people often send me stuff that looks similar to other things and just ask me questions about it. So somebody saw Preston's post and sent it to me on Instagram, and I look at the post and I look at the details and I'm like, wait, are they serious? And the reason I thought that was because Preston made a poll like a month ago and asked his own group, what's your favorite frame maker, brand? And thankfully, I really appreciate it, Hyperlight won. By a landslide, it won. Armatan was in second place, but Armatan and Hyperlight were like far beyond all the other frame makers. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it hugely. And when I saw that, I was expecting somebody from RaceFlight to reach out to me and say, hey, it seems like people like your stuff. Let's work together and make something happen. And I would have been floored. I would have been so happy. I'm so happy to do that. Just because I don't like Preston doesn't mean I don't like RaceFlight. I think RaceFlight is a necessary thing in our industry, and it needs to be there and it needs to improve. And if Preston helps that, great. Happy. Great. Let him do it. Please do it. But I really expected that. And kind of sort of half expected that. I didn't know if they were actually going to do it. I actually thought they might go with Armitan because Preston just knows that I don't like him. But whatever. Instead, what happened was, a month later, I see a post on Preston's Instagram page showing a frame that's their new design that looks very, very similar to the Floss 2 frame that I've been flying for the past several months. Now, what am I supposed to think? Well, RaceFlight wanted a frame, and people like the Hyperlight, so hey, we'll just make something that looks like the Hyperlight, but sort of not, and call it our own. This should work out. And I saw that Brian Morris's name was attached to it. So I posted on that image, an image that at this point has like 172 likes on an account that doesn't even have I don't think it even has 2,000 followers. Maybe 200, 300 people saw the picture. Of those 200, 300 people, maybe 10, 15 people actually clicked on the comments to read the comments. So my exposure was maybe 20 people, and I took that into account as well. And I contacted Brian Morris. I said, hey, looks like RaceFlight has done something interesting, and they've attached your name to it. What do you think? Contact him for more information. Now this part is really upsetting because I really like Brian Morris. I think he's an awesome guy. I have the most respect possible for him at all. I mean, I literally look at him like he's the godfather of quads. He truly is to me. And I talk to him constantly. But instead of coming back and saying, oh yeah, I came up with that design, it's interesting that it's so similar to yours, which is what he told me after the fact, which I believe him too, because we do think a lot alike. A lot of our ideas are kind of along the same lines. But that's not what he did. He went ahead and put out a video saying that I'm the bad guy and I did something wrong. What can I do? And then he blew it out of proportion and he posted it on Facebook and on multiple groups, and it got all over, and people started writing so much hate stuff about me that it really hurt me. It's I'm a human too. People on the other end, we're humans. Like, I've done it to other people too on my YouTube page, and I feel like absolute crap, and I hate myself for it, and I've tried to apologize and make it right, but there's nothing I can do. It's over. Like, I couldn't even realize that that's what would happen. So now moving forward, I'm just super cautious because I don't want to put that kind of negative energy on anybody. It's demoralizing. I don't want to do this anymore because of this crap, this garbage that people just love, typing, and they think it's like harmless. It's not harmless. Cyberbullying is a real thing. But let's go beyond that. So, Brian, first and foremost, stated that it's not the same, doesn't look the same, which, okay, we'll talk about that later. But he also said that I copied his OB1 frame with my Hyperlight design. Yes, I did. That was clear. I talked to him about it. I wrote an article that says Brian Morris is the first one that I know of that realized that a long X matters. I don't know how he came up with it, how he figured it out, but that's why the frame it is the way it is because of Brian Morris. He is the one to thank for that. On top of that, the center aspect of the frame is also very similar to his, although I improved it the way I thought it should be improved. But 100% homage to Brian Morris. I didn't copy it outright and say it's my design. I said, hey, look, he's the one that figured it out. Thank you very much. Here's my take on it. That's how I think it should be done. I think that is respectful. I think it was direct. It gave him credit. And I made something that I think is better. I don't know if everybody else thinks it's better, but I think it's better. And Brian actually talked to me later and said he thinks my design is better too. So, damn, like that. Getting a compliment from like my idol is amazing. What better? That was like the best day that I had in a long, long time. It was amazing. I thank him so much for that. So did he copy my design now? like I said, Brian and I have very similar ideas, so it wouldn't be a surprise to me if he came up with a very similar design as I did. Great, good. The problem that I had was RaceFlight taking a design that was so similar to mine and marketing it as themselves, and then putting Brian Morris's name on it because the arm ends look like his frame and the front and back look like his frame design concepts. That's the problem I had. Instead, Brian kind of used it as like a publicity stunt to try and gain publicity or traction or whatnot. I don't know what the intention was, but I'm hurt by it because I wouldn't have expected that from him, and I don't appreciate the negative comments and the negative energy that I received today from all the commenters on YouTube and on Facebook. I really do a lot around this space. I spend a lot of my time answering new pilots, spend a lot of my time discussing with people how to improve things, how to make things better. I'm in contact with constantly in contact with racing groups. I try to talk to as many companies that are, companies that talk to me that want help developing things. I give them all the help I can. I really spent a lot of time trying to fine-tune the Floss frame to be the best that it could be. I never wanted the Floss 1 to be as popular as it is. I've been flying the Floss 2 since maybe a month or two after the Floss 1 release. I really wish I could have just replaced the Floss 1 with the Floss 2 right at the beginning, but unfortunately it got out of hand and it's beyond me. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was try and improve the frame. So I can't do anything about that, and basically what this is showing me is that I do this stuff for fun. I don't make any money from this. I don't have any other reason for doing this. I do this stuff for you guys. I love the community. I love sharing my ideas, improving things. Yeah, I say stuff that's wrong. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. Not all my ideas are right. Most of my ideas are not right, but I just present what I think. I present my ideas to you guys. And in terms of reviews, I am not everything dandy kind of review kind of person, because not everything is dandy. I have extremely high standards. I'm a freaking dentist. If I see a line that's a little bit off, I don't like it. So I have super duper high standards. What this has shown me is that even though I have a lot of positive responses from people, and I have a community and people that follow me, I don't need to do this. And I don't think I want the negative energy like this, because it's not nice. It feels really, really bad. And I hope nobody else is put in this kind of position in the future, and I really hope I never do it to anybody else again. I'm going to drastically cut back on my interaction with the community. I'm still going to do what I love. I'm still developing a number of products, and I'm going to still make YouTube videos. There's a couple that I have to make already because I have them lined up. But I'm just going to cut back entirely because I don't need this at all, and it's frankly, it's really not nice. It's just not good. But since Brian Morris critiqued my frame, critiqued my style of copying, I think it opens the door to allow me to critique his frame and his style and the differences between the Floss 2 and his new RaceFlight design. So, first and foremost, let's look at the Floss. Here's the Floss 2. This is the newest prototype, the one that's shipped out, or at least most of it. A lot of the ones that shipped out today don't have 100% of the new parts, and things are a little different here and there because I'm testing things to see what happens. Really minor differences, not really big. But there's a lot of broken parts that I have looked at to make this frame as good as it is. And good is a relative term because it's still a technically disposable frame. And the price point it comes at, okay, my concept for frames is that I have looked at all the cheap frames out there and they're all trash. Honestly, a lot of the times they make an arm that they have freaking slots in the holes, and it doesn't make any sense why they put these slots in the arm and make it so weak. So I look at a lot of cheap frames because I'm always looking for a good cheap frame to recommend, and they never fit the bill. They always have one major flaw that just kills the frame. So I'm not trying to make cheap stuff. I try to make really quality stuff, and I put a lot of effort into trying to make it really quality, both the design and the carbon and everything that goes into it. But I'm not looking to gouge anybody. I don't make any money off this. I don't want to make money off this. I just want more people to do it. I want to share what I enjoy. So this frame is as good as I can get it with my knowledge and my experience. And I'm going to tell you the differences between the Floss 2 and Brian's frame and show you where my research in seeing other people break everything that I make has taken me. So first and foremost, Brian Morris's frame, it has the same layout. So I call that the same layout. So I don't know if it was inspired by my frame, but you can clearly see how I would think that it looks like my frame. Clearly. Aside from that, his main plate has this bump out in front, and all of his designs kind of have that bump out in front. I think that's for camera protection in case you like run into something directly like this. It's not necessary. It doesn't do anything for the frame. It doesn't make it stronger at all. It just adds weight. The antenna comes out the back, which is totally fine, except for the fact that if it curls up or if it extends out, it's going to get sliced by the props. And it's also kind of obstructing airflow because it's underneath the props. Not ideal, not a big deal. And those are kind of where that, and also I think he's underestimated how much the top plate is important with a frame like this. So let's back up a little bit. My concept with this frame was that it has one main plate and nothing else, and only the main plate should remain if anything else breaks. Hopefully the main plate will never break. And my concept is that I just bolted arms directly to a main plate and braced it with the top plate. And that's my claim for this frame, I would say. If anything was original in this frame, that was it. I don't know of any frames in the past, or I've never seen a frame in the past that's popular that does that kind of a thing. And so then now there's a lot of frames that do that, which, great, I appreciate it, and people can see that they're clearly inspired by the Floss because the Floss is so popular. I don't go after all of them. I go after the ones that are advertising on Facebook saying, oh, look at my new frame design, when it's the same concept as mine. There's one company that I think was inspired by my frame that now has a popular frame too, but that's besides the point. So the main plate has extra weight on it that's not necessary. It doesn't have cutouts out the middle, and he missed a pretty major point with the main plate. Take a look at the way the carbon is cut on this plate. The carbon is not cut vertically like this. It's cut at an angle. It's cut at an angle for a very specific purpose. The main failure point of this main plate is right here. Right here is where it breaks. If it's going to break, it's going to break right here. So my concept for the directionality of the carbon, which makes it significantly stronger, is to cut it at a 45-degree angle such that the strength is added right here. The top plate is going to be bracing the bottom plate, so the rigidity front to back is not an issue at all. I want the strength where I need it, which is right here. That's exactly where I need it. That's one big thing that was missed, and I talked to Brian about this earlier today, and I think he's going to change it to that as well. Another aspect of the main plate here that's very new concept that I started doing is that, again, I never want this main plate to break. So the reason why these ends are almost flat is because if you come down hard like this, I want the arm to break here. I do not want it to break here. So I've given it a crumple zone to break exactly where I want it to break, not where it wants to break. The other area where I've fine-tuned is the actual arm itself. Take a look at this arm. I've beefed up this connector right here where the first knuckle is, where it connects to the first bolt. If the arm breaks, if you come down hard right here, it usually breaks right here because the screw is right there. So we use a flanged nut that has a wider distributed force load on the arm right here, which I don't know if this frame does or not. And I've widened it, kept on widening it until I didn't see any more breaks when at least I flew it. Right here, I started seeing breaks in this section of the arm, which is where I would prefer the arm to break. Additionally, I fine-tuned this section for people that want to use 2 screws, and the whole motor pad for people that want to use 2 screws, so that hopefully the motor pad doesn't break here. My arms are also 4 millimeters. They're 4 millimeters thick and 8.2 millimeters wide. His arms look like they're 12 millimeters wide, 13 millimeters wide, and 3 millimeters thick. So there's another thing he pointed out, which I think I took more offense to that than anything else. He says that the RaceFlight 2408 motors cannot be supported by the floss arms. I have been running the 2307 since the day it came out, and I have had people send me pictures of a floss running F80 motors. That's a freaking huge motor. It's a 40-gram motor. Yeah, if you put a big motor at the end of a long arm, it's gonna break easier, duh. But the frame can take a big motor just as good as his frame can. He's using an arm that has less volume than my arm. I think, I'm just guessing here, but it looks like it has less volume. Whatever it is, the arm weight is somewhere between 5 and 7 grams, which is where my arm weight is too. So neither arm is drastically more strong than the other. So his concern of the RaceFlight motor breaking the floss arm is unfounded completely. Other than that, like I said, I think he underestimates how important the top plate is for bracing the bottom plate. And the reason I've gone with this kind of top plate design is this is a new top plate design, is very, very specific. He knows well himself that the carbon is only strong in the 90-degree section unless you're using quasi-isotropic. And the reason I've gone with this kind of a design is because I don't want to disturb the fibers going in this direction, and I want them to be tied together really well. So that's going to give a lot of rigidity to the frame, and also in a hard hit, in a crash, it's going to support the bottom plate much better. The plates are going to support themselves better. The design he has the arms kind of like, notched and then slotted and then again out. So it's kind of cutting the fibers at angles all over the top plate. So I'd say if you're going to put a battery on top, which I don't think he expects anybody to do because he's a bottom battery person, bottom battery for life because he prefers that, which is fine. It's not going to support a battery on top as well. It also doesn't have the battery strap slots to make your life easy. It also, I don't think it's going to tolerate crashes as nicely as this top plate. And finally, the king of lightweight has made a frame that weighs more than my frame. That's curious, don't you think? Somebody that loves the 2204 motor, which he was actually the person that inspired the 2204 motor. He wants the super light motor, and Purefoot went ahead and made it. And the first moment that I tested it, I texted Sergio. I said, "This is not a good motor. You should probably not make too many of these." It is very popular, but now Brian Morris is running a big ass motor. So I don't know. Maybe something to be said about that. I actually had a lot of discussion with him regarding motors, sizes, small, big, large, KVs, whatnot, and interesting discussion. We have a lot of interesting discussions. So yeah, that's it. I hope this video wasn't really disrespectful to him or really anybody, and I wish it didn't happen the way it did. It would have been nice to avoid any drama, and I don't appreciate publicity stunts. I think it's very lame. I don't know if it was supposed to be a publicity stunt, but that's my take on it. Based on his video, I think my response was in line, I hope. Thank you very much. Please, please, please. I took out 25 teeth today. Please floss.